So I would now like to introduce to you guys Nancy Brown, who's going to be our next speaker. Nancy is the Deputy Director for Communications at the Validation Training Institute. She has 18 years of experience in dementia care in a memory day center serving all levels of cognitive impairment. As a practitioner, researcher, and specialist working with older adults living with advanced dementia, she's also a PhD candidate in dementia studies at the University of Edinburgh and the research center ECRED. She's a certified validation teacher and conducts webinars, workshops, and private consultations for professional staff, volunteers, families, and caregivers. Nancy serves as the communications chair for the Non-Pharmacological Interventions interest area of Alzheimer's Association International and is an executive committee member of the SDRC, the Scottish Dementia Research Consortium. So I'm very pleased to turn it over to Nancy now and enjoy her presentation.
Thank you, Kim, very much. So let's take a few seconds and just not think about the things going on all around us and not think about all the things that we have to do later on this afternoon, and just be present. And just to think about nothing but being together at this particular moment. So let's take a deep breath and let it out. And just take a few seconds just to breathe. Now, why would I start a presentation this way? Well, in a few minutes, I'll tell you exactly why. Being able to communicate with older adults is crucial to the work that we do every single day. And modern day influencers also need to connect with their audiences as well. Now, we think influencers are a new thing. Celebrities and experts from a variety of fields all over the world need to have photographers and videographers follow them around in order to get the most perfect picture to post on the latest social media. They have various techniques they use to engage people, just as you and I have techniques that work for us in the work that we do with older adults. But let me introduce to you who I think is the original influencer in our field of work. And that's Naomi Feil and her husband, Ed, a documentary filmmaker. And maybe some of the techniques you have used have been influenced by the validation method developed by Naomi, which in fact was the original influencer of person-centered care. In my role as a practitioner, I have found that validation has transformed the way I work with my clients and staff more than any other method I've tried. So today I'm going to share with you a little bit about the validation method and talk about the prerequisites necessary for effective communication with older adults. Developed by a social worker, Naomi Feil, she and her family escaped Nazi Germany when she was 4 years old. They relocated to Cleveland, Ohio, where her father was the administrator and her mother the social work head of the Montefiore House for the Aged, which still exists in Cleveland, Ohio. So as a young girl, she grew up within the nursing home, the apartment where they lived. So the older people were her neighbors and friends. So she's very uniquely qualified to have this unique relationship with older adults. When she graduated with a master's in social work from Columbia University in New York, she went back to the Montefiore House and started to work in a group setting for people with more advanced dementia. And she found that everything that she had learned in school didn't work. So she had to try something different. She drew upon her background in psychology. She studied the humanistic psychologists of the 60s and 70s, Carl Rogers, Abraham Maslow, Erik Erikson. She was influenced by Freud and Jung. And out of those theories came the validation method and the techniques that she developed. Her first research was published in 1972, and her first book was published in 1982. The validation method is one of the most researched non-pharmacological interventions that focuses on a method of communication. It has been continuously researched and developed through practical experience for more than 50 years. Validation is a worldwide global organization. Naomi herself has ran over 2,000 workshops worldwide from Japan to the Middle East and South Africa, and has affected and been, her audiences total over 400,000 individuals. As an organization, the Validation Trainings Institute has training centers in 26 countries now, and we serve 14 countries and 11 languages are served. The Validation Training Institute has developed a variety of programs to meet everyone's needs. We have on-demand introduction to validation videos and courses. For families, we have a particularly specific family caregiver course. We have a course for healthcare professionals and physicians. For the community, we have a course for first responders, and for healthcare professionals and anyone else interested, we have certification courses as well. So the validation really, and the method really speaks to all the different facets of the community. As a practitioner and researcher, I find that validation goes beyond person-centered care. It's about developing and fostering a relationship with that older adult. It's more about relationship-centered care and developing a culture of validation with everyone in the workplace, whether it's volunteers or staff, benefits everyone, especially the older adults. Validation can be practiced individually and in groups, and is one of the only methods that can be practiced in a group setting that is effective for both individuals that are verbal and nonverbal. And my own research shows that particular practice. The validation method can be seen as a tripod of theory, techniques, and attitude. Each leg of the triangle is dependent upon the other. If only the basic attitude is used, there will be a good attitude, perhaps, and a good contact, but little communication. If techniques are used without the validation attitude, the techniques are sterile and often ineffective. And likewise, if attitude and techniques are used without goals and rooted in scientific theory, the method often goes wrong. It is only when those three elements are in place that contact and communication can flow easily. Validation is a practical method, and Naomi wanted to make a difference in the lives of older adults in the here and now. And now I want to review some of the most important steps that you can practice in order to prepare to communicate with an older person. Centering. Just taking a few seconds to take a deep breath, just like we did earlier, makes such a difference. Naomi says that you can't cross the street to meet another person if there's too much traffic. If we have too much stuff going on in our head, we can't actually be genuinely with that older person and actually listen and actually be present with them. When we have focus groups with people who have taken some of our courses, centering, they tell us, is one of the most important techniques they've used because it helps all the other techniques be more successful. A validation session with an older adult doesn't take a lot of time, but it does require a great deal from the practitioner. We have to set aside our own goals and our own stuff in our own head in order to face our own feelings and be able to set them aside for a short period of time. We center when we don't know what to say. We practice anytime and anywhere with your family, your spouse, your work. When you're driving, doesn't matter. You can practice anywhere. And in the middle of an encounter with an older person, especially in a challenging situation, is the perfect time to center. So now we're going to look at various slides that help us toward the steps toward empathy. Calibrate and observe. Look at the pictures. And what do you see? Can you do it? What emotions are being expressed? And can you calibrate your own facial expressions to meet the emotions that you see with an older person, or even in these pictures that you see right here? And in validation, you stress the observation and calibration of micro expressions. What does the brow look like? What do the eyebrows look like? The lips, the chest. What's the breathing all about? Observing body language. All of those things are very, very important when we're trying to get into the emotion that's being expressed by that older person. You yourself can remember when a bad thing happened and you wanted to tell someone about it. You were desperate to express whatever was going on with you. But what would happen if someone wouldn't move into your emotional space? Would you tell someone, or would you keep it inside? And the older person feels the same way. Finding the right distance is very important, as all of us have probably experienced when working with older adults. There's an energy field that we send out when we are sensitive and truly with someone else. People in the early stages of dementia usually don't want very close contact and usually reject that. Those in the more advanced stages need closeness. And of course, safety is an important issue for both of you. Eye contact, really important, intense, respectful eye contact is so important when dealing with people in general, but especially people with cognitive decline. With your eyes darting around when you're looking at something else or have something else on your mind is not going to show that person, or that person's not going to feel that you are truly with them. And how many times have you seen people stand over an older adult when speaking to them? This can also give that older adult a feeling of a power relationship, even when you have the best intentions. Older adults, when they process voice, can mainly process more lower pitch tones. And that has to do with music as well. I know in my own practice, I invested in a really high quality Bluetooth speaker that has bass tones, because the tinny sound is really repulsive to someone with cognitive decline, as well as with your voice. A lower voice, slow, warm voice tones is so important. But if you're matching the emotion and you're calibrating the emotion you have with a particular older adult who is angry, you might raise your voice, not above the level that they're raising, but you want to calibrate your face and your body language and everything, even about your tone of voice, so that they know you are really, really listening and really trying to understand them. Communication is complex, but we cannot help but communicate. And the pathway to validation and the pathway to communication is also complex. And validation also emphasizes empathy. And it's possible and very rewarding when dealing with older adults. Naomi's influenced a whole generation of person-centered practices. Influences are popular for a reason. They adapt and change. And validation of 1972 is not the same validation as 2023. So I want to share with you a very popular video that perhaps you've seen with over 2 million views of Naomi, a master validation practitioner, with someone with severe cognitive decline, Naomi and Gladys.
When people are very old and deteriorated and no one enters their world and they're just sitting there, they will withdraw inward more and more. And their desperate need for connection is all now inside. And if a person is all alone, even if they're very, very deteriorated, there's a longing for this kind of closeness. Mrs. Wilson? Hello. You want me to sit? Can you see me good? Gladys Wilson is a wonderful example of a person who is in the phase of repetitive motion, where people use movements, repetitive movements, because they don't have any more speech or very little speech, but they have human needs that need to be expressed. You're crying. You're crying. You have a tear right here in your face. You have a little pain. You don't want me to touch you. You're very sad. Can you see me? Is it scary? Are you afraid? And if this person sits with their eyes closed, rocking back and forth, and maybe there's a tear coming down, there's a need there. There's a little tear that's coming out. Do you feel it? You feel a little tear? If you gently use touch, and I touched Gladys Wilson with the fingertips right here on the cheek, is where the mother usually touches a child. If you touch an infant there, it looks up, and every cell remembers where it was touched by the mother. And often that person knows, even if they can't say a word at that moment, they won't talk, or they don't want to talk, but there's a communication. And that person is no longer alone. Can you let me in a little bit? You think? Just a little? You think I could be with you and Jesus for a minute? Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. I used music, because when speech is gone, music, especially with Gladys Wilson, it was religious music because there's emotion tied to it and safety tied to it. So I used her old church songs. Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. What I did was, when she moved, I moved with her. And when I was singing, because she didn't sing with me, so I matched the intensity of my voice to the intensity of her movement. And pretty soon, for a split second, we became one person. Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. So at one point, when she got very quiet and very peaceful, and my voice became very quiet as hers and very peaceful, and my breathing slowed to her breathing, she pulled me to her, and I moved with her. And for her, at that moment, I believe I was a symbol of her mom. Can you open your eyes now? Do you see me? Feel safe and warm? Yes? Can you sing with me? He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got the mothers and the fathers. He's got the mothers and the fathers in his hands. He's got the mothers and the fathers in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. The breakthrough doesn't happen every time. The person will not always open their eyes and look at you. But if you keep trying, and you keep centering yourself, and really look at that person, and really mirror their movements, maybe not this time, but the next time you come, you'll have a communication. You feel safe? You feel safe? Yeah. With Jesus? Yeah. And me?
So I wanted to announce, along with Engaging Dementia, that validation is coming to Ireland. The Validation Training Institute is really excited to partner with Engaging Dementia to bring the validation certification worker course a level 1 certification course to Ireland. We are having 2 informational webinars, one in June and one in early July. And we invite anyone interested who wants to learn more about this course and what's involved and what you will learn. The QR code in the corner of the screen will send you to my particular email, and you can choose which webinar you would like to attend, or you can attend both. We invite you to have more information about this particular course. You can also contact Engaging Dementia. Danielle's email is also on this particular screen. And we invite, whether you are a family caregiver, volunteer, healthcare professional, anyone interested in learning more about validation, to find out more about our particular course, which will begin in the end of August. There will be 2 two-day in-person sessions, and they will be held in Dublin. So we're very excited about that. This particular QR code will send you to the validation website that will send you to the very specific brochure that has more information about the course in detail. Here's my email address, and of course, Danielle's. You can contact me. You can contact Engaging Dementia for more information. So I'll leave that up for a few seconds. If you want to scan, take a screenshot, and of course, it'll be available through Engaging Dementia, the video anyway, later. So I certainly want to thank Kim and Danielle and the entire Engaging Dementia staff for the opportunity to participate in this wonderful, wonderful conference. I've learned so much so far.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I think I told you this already, but one of the first conferences I was involved with, Naomi and Vicky, her daughter, spoke. And they were doing some role playing, and it just, every time I see Naomi, you're right, you just learn so much, and she just had such a gift. So it's great that, you know, we're going to be able to share this knowledge with other people.
Exactly. We're very excited to come to Ireland.
Yeah. We're excited to have you come.